The next generation of handheld digital film cameras is here. We'll show you how the Blackmagic Pocket Cinema 4K camera is perfect for filming in this in-depth camera review. Welcome back to our channel. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. This is an incredible camera. It can be used in different settings. It's usually used on a shoulder or handheld rig. You can also use it on a tripod or gimbal, whether it's a handheld gimbal or a car rig, to film a lot of interview-style material. Okay, so we don't recommend you use this camera for vlogging, and it wasn't even designed for it. It doesn't have a nice flip-out screen, it has poor autofocus system, and to be honest, a terrible battery life. That isn't to say you can't use it for vlogging, but this camera was intended for filmmakers looking for an entry-level cinema camera, and it delivered. That is why we absolutely love it. Now let's take a closer look at this camera. For the resolutions, this is the Pocket 4K, which means it can shoot 4K DCI, 4K 2.4 by 1, and 4K Ultra HD. It can shoot 2.8K anamorphic, 2.6K 16 by 9, and 1080p as well. Shooting all of those resolutions adds up to a tremendous value. Throughout this video, we'll be talking about the camera's value. There aren't many cameras that can top $1,300 for shooting all those resolutions, especially 2.8K anamorphic. Now let's head over to the frame rates. You could shoot at speeds ranging from 2397 to 60 frames per second. Off-speed recording is one feature of the Pocket 4K that you will really like. If you've used a GH5 or GH5S, you've probably heard of variable frame rate, which is basically what off-speed recording is. It's also referred to as high frame rate on this camera. We're not sure why they gave it two separate names. Off-speed recording bakes slow motion into your footage. You may even capture a time-lapse with it. When it comes to time-lapses, the Pocket delivers excellent performance. You can shoot at 120 frames per second. This camera is incredibly versatile. It can shoot both ProRes and RAW internally. So we say internally since shooting RAW does not require an external recorder. We'll now move on to the dynamic range and why it's extremely important to filmmakers. Dynamic range allows to capture high contrast scenes without overexposing or underexposing the shot. Highlights and shadows are better protected than with a lower dynamic range camera. The Pocket 4K now has a dynamic range of 13 stops. This gives you the freedom to bring the highlights back if you overexpose a shot in post, and to bring some of the details back if you weren't able to properly expose a shot. When you shoot lots of run and gun style footage, particularly at races, drag races, you must be able to capture fast. The same is true for shadows. If you underexpose to a certain level, you may bring back the details. So how does the dynamic range of the Blackmagic Pocket 4K compare to that of actual cinema cameras? Capturing high-quality audio is one of the most critical and sadly, commonly underestimated parts of filmmaking. Thankfully, it includes professional audio inputs. A 3.5mm audio input jack is located on the camera's side. It also has two internal front speakers that are actually pretty good. These speakers can now be split into two channels. The fact that this camera features a mini XLR input with 48-volt phantom power is one aspect that stands out. That means you can connect an XLR microphone to the camera directly and have phantom power sent to the microphone. You're never without a backup. You have one channel dedicated to the wireless lab and another dedicated to whichever backup mic you're using. So we're going to be talking about the one thing that people truly hate about this camera, which is the battery life. It's terrible. If the battery lasts 30 minutes, then you're incredibly lucky. Blackmagic appears to work with 6 LPG batteries. Is the Pocket 4K's battery life a deal breaker? No, I don't hope so. Because of the way most people use it, if you're a filmmaker or a cinematographer, you're probably already using some sort of rig and you may already have some B-mount batteries or another battery solution lying around. One significant feature we'd like to highlight in terms of battery life is that you can use the USB-C cable to both power the camera and charge the battery. Unfortunately, you will lose the option to record to an external SSD if you do this. Blackmagic is known for their incredible user interface design. Sure, the user interface has been carried over to the Pocket 4K, so those of you coming from a Sony background are undoubtedly used to looking for settings and possibly getting lost. With the Pocket 4K though, none of that will happen. Each setting and menu option is easily accessible and changed. The ability to control the camera via a Bluetooth app is another favorite feature of the Pocket 4K. Now, Blackmagic has launched a free Bluetooth app for your phone or tablet, which is available for iOS and Android. It allows you to control basic operations such as start or stop recording. You can alter the ISO, aperture, and shutter speed. That is extremely handy, especially when you do not have constant access to the camera. It's crucial to be able to control the camera remotely. So if you're shooting a lot of big car shots or anything else where you need to remotely control the camera, we strongly advise you to download the app. For the Pocket 4K's low light performance, it has dual gain ISO, which means it performs well in low light. One feature you will like is that the camera captures shots with impressively low noise at 3200 ISO. Enjoying this video so far? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. Yes, the camera's body is plastic and some of the components are fairly cheap, such as the rubber doors. The camera's buttons are a bit soft at the moment, but when you press them, they feel stable. There is a tactile response when you press the record button and it feels good. There are 3 incredibly customizable function buttons. On the aspect of the camera's size and ergonomics, it's a rather wide camera, but not so large that it won't fit in your camera bag. However, if you're used to something smaller, it may feel a bit odd in the hands. Although the camera appears to be big, it is quite light. Next, we have the back screen. The screen is massive and sorry vloggers, it doesn't flip out. A standard quarter 20 mount is available. This camera does not have a hot shoe. All in all, the camera body has a pretty excellent build. Yes, it's plastic, but it's not that cheap that you question it, and it definitely performs far better than it looks. Let's talk about recording media. This camera gives you 3 distinct recording media options. Of course, you can use a standard SD card or you can use CFast cards. By plugging in an external SSD to the USB-C port, you can record on the Pocket 4K. One advantage of recording to an external SSD is that you may edit on the go if needed. So after the shoot, you can unplug the SSD from the camera, connect it to your PC via USB-C, and start editing right away. This leads to a pretty fast workflow. Finally, we get to what we've been mentioning throughout the review, the Pocket 4K's value. The cost is quite important, so all of the features we've discussed, plus a few more, are features you won't find on a normal camera, especially for $1,300. You get 4K up to 120 frames per second, anamorphic, several recording media options, a micro 4/3 mount, professional level audio, a massive screen, a wonderful user interface, and honestly, perhaps the best value for your money in the last 10 years when it comes to cameras. The fact that you get a free copy of Blackmagic DaVinci Resolve Studio adds up to the value of the Pocket 4K. It's their professional industry standard color grading software, which includes both Fairlight built-in and a sophisticated editing tool. So to summarize the value, if you're on a budget and need several cameras, this camera is unbeatable at $1,300. At 1,300, I don't think there is a single camera on the market with the Pocket 4K's functionality and quality. What do you think is the best feature of this camera? Please let us know in the comment section below. And if you loved the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching!